Okay, so welcome to lecture on packaging and labeling. This is recording number 3 for logistics and transport. So this lecture will be looking at the meaning of packaging and labeling, differences between packaging and labeling, functions of packaging, levels of packaging, complementary rules of packaging and labeling, importance of product packaging, importance of labeling, and what we must do to include, what we must include in our label. And finally, we look at what makes a good or poor package or label. So this will be the important points that we will be discussing here in this lecture. So stay tuned, it's a short one. So we talk of packaging. We are looking at the various activities that are carried out in order to design, develop a suitable package for a product. That's the process. So the process of developing a product, a suitable package for a product is called packaging. So a package may be in the form of a container, wrapper, box, tube, plastic, bottle, Tetra Pak, tin, or any other form. So packaging must be properly and solidly done so that it can protect the product from contamination, from leakage, from evaporation, from spoilage, or from damage, or any other thing that can harm the safety of the product, okay, when it is in transit or when we are transporting it or when it is being stored or when it's being used in promotional activities. So all these are the reasons why we need packaging. So packaging is more than just a container prepared by and to be filled by a product. So we are not looking at only the container. So sometimes our minds will go to a container when we talk about a package or a packaging, but not the container itself, but it includes every aspect of a complete package that you have to establish the identity of a product and the entity. For example, when you see something like a bottle, see a bottle like this, for example, you see that if you see a bottle of water with Belacqua, when you see it, is the packaging that tells you that this is the kind of water, or this is the company that produces the water. The taste of Belacqua may taste like any other bottled water, but you realize that the package gives it an identity. The package also protects the water from damage. Okay, so all these are reasons why we want to package a product. So what about labeling? So while package look at getting things done properly, protected from damage, labeling goes to more of providing information about the product. Okay, so a label is an integral part of every package, and whilst a label provides information, it performs two functions, whether it is being persuasive or it is being informative. Now, if it's being persuasive, when it helps to tell us some ideals about the product. They say, oh, okay, so you pick a product and you see, let's say, the 80% chocolates, 80% cocoa in a chocolate, for example. Or they said the bears made whiskey or 50 years kept in store. Those are antiques so all these things provide some persuasion to people. You see very nice labels designed just to attract people's attention. Those are persuasive labels. Then informative labels normally will give you information about the product, maybe date of manufacture, the dosage, expiry date, batch number. Those are more of informative. They are not going to persuade you to buy the product. So there are some legal requirements that you need to work with. For example, in Ghana, when you want to label your product, you have to look at the requirement by the Ghana Standard Authority and Ghana Food and Drugs Authority, and it's every jurisdiction and how it's done. So even though packaging also may require some regulation, what is more regulated is the label and the information that are required on every label. All right, so let's look at difference between packaging and labeling. So you see that packaging talks more about developing appropriate package, wrapping the product and all that, whilst labels look more at providing information about the product. Okay. All right. So functions of packaging: protecting and containing products. It helps to protect and contain the products in a safe place. It helps in promotion. Of course, we spoke about that. It's when you want to promote a product, you may need to put in a proper package so people can easily identify it. Convenient storage. It helps if you don't package it properly. The storage could also be a problem. You can imagine if you have 10 million bottles of drink and it's not in a proper package, how are you going to store them? Will you just take them and throw them away? But if it's placed in crates, then it's easy to store. If you put these drinks in bottles, then it's easy to store. So these are the things you can get from packaging. You also reduce environmental damage and recycling, and helps in recycling when you put the package, if you put your product in a package. So levels of packaging. Generally, there are 3 levels of packaging. The primary package are normally packages that come in contact with the product. So if you get a chocolate, these are the foil. Normally, it's in touch with the chocolate itself, so that becomes the primary package. The secondary package is any package that is on the primary package, that becomes the secondary package. Normally, like a typical chocolate, you see no information on the foil. You only see information on their secondary package. Information like the brand name, the expiry dates, chocolates, the cocoa, sugar, milk level, all those things will be in the secondary package. So this secondary package do not come in direct contact with the product, but they are normally there to provide marketing or other or informative type of functions. And the last one is tertiary packaging. This is normally like a box. So like a typical chocolate again, after the chocolates are produced with the primary and secondary package, they may also need to be placed in a box for easy transportation. So that is the third layer you can see of a package, or a way of putting products that are already packaged into boxes for easy transportation. Cool. So let's look at the complementary rules of packaging and labeling. The question is, can there be a good package without a label, or can there be a good label without a package? And this question, we can debate it the whole year, but I think what is important is for us to know that labeling and packaging, they play complementary. While packaging tries to provide some kind of a house, call it, housing for the products, labeling tries to provide information to persuade or just to inform buyers basically about the product. So importance of packaging, products packaging serves 3 main functions. First, it conveys important information about the product. Second, it protects the product from damage. And lastly, a product packaging is your primary opportunity to set your product apart from similar products. So you can see different kinds of water, but you see different between the Baltic and let me see. So for example, UCC water and Belacqua, and also another one, Mont. So different types of water, different packaging, but they are all water just for us to drink. So these are functions of packaging. So what must you include in your package? Normally, like we said, the regulatory, what you should include in your label, not the package. And we said there are regulatory requirements for labeling, and some of these ones are expiry date, the weight, usage instructions, name of manufacturer, date of production, and all that. And there may be some other features that some people may want to put on the product, like pricing and all that. It depends on the producer for that one, but most of the information on the labels are regulatory requirements. Cool. So that is it about the packaging and labeling. So the question we need to ask ourselves is what makes a good or a poor package or a label? This again goes back to functions of the package and what kind of information we need on the label. All right. Good. So the things that are important here, for example, could be color, language for a particular package or label. If the color for a product, yeah, some products, the color must be clear and appropriate. The language on the label must be language that your target customer groups will understand. Availability of important information on the label. Yes, the size and shape, yeah, sometimes matters a lot. And material that they use for the packaging. Now we're moving towards environmentally friendly materials, for example. Cool. That does it for packaging and labeling. Now let's look at quickly transportation planning. So when we talk about transportation planning, we're looking at the decision-making process that involves deciding the mode of transportation. Well, we talked about the different types of mode earlier, the modal transport, intermodal, and multimodal. So it is basically deciding on what you want, which mode you use when you are working on moving logistics from one point to another, moving passengers from one point to another, what kind of mode? That's transportation planning. It could also, transportation planning could also talk about planning the city, how we want a particular community transport networks to look like. So these are two main broad objectives. But we'll look at the first type of transportation planning in this course, which talks more about the deciding on the most means of transport to achieve safer, faster, comfortable, convenient, economical, and environmentally friendly movement of goods and people. Basically, these are the things we want to look at. So transportation planning could cover all aspects of our life, including economic development, quality of life, health of the public, environmental considerations. When you are this is when you are planning a transport for a community or a city. These are some of the things you need to look at. Economic development. You don't just let road network or train network pass anywhere. Train networks, road networks, and other transport networks must pass through strategic points to help movement of people and goods conveniently. And quality of life, we said that people don't have to wait long hours in queue, in traffic and all that, and people transport lines should not be too far away from residential areas, and health of public, very important. So transportation system must be made such that it does not impede the health of the public. Then environmental considerations for transportation must also be looked at. So it requires consideration for long-term ecological balance when we talk of transportation planning. So goals or principles of transportation planning: access to employment, people who are going to work, commuting every day, the transport should be able to connect people from residential areas to their workplace and back safely and hassle-free. We need to talk also about freight mobility. How can we also ensure that we are able to carry our goods also more conveniently or efficiently? Safety and security of people traveling around. So highways, for example, should not pass through town, so people don't get knocked down by speeding vehicles and all that. Okay, then system reliability to be sure that there's a transport network and system that makes people have the ability to predict their travel times and all that. Congestion mitigation, yes, we don't want to have transport system that result in high congestion on our highways. And we also look at environment and air quality, yes. If there's congestion, like the previous point, which is number 5, then there can also be environmental and air quality issues. Then multimodal connectivity, how to ensure that train, buses, even the airplane, all of them can meet at a point, or there can be easy exchange between these modes. Okay, sea, air, road, and rail, they should all be able to connect easily. So these are some of the things you can look at. Then preservation and maintenance. All transport systems must be such that we can be able to maintain them and preserve them. Yeah, these are some of the things that happen or benefit that come to us when we properly plan our transport. So the transportation planning process, like any other process, we'll look at vision and goals. You need to set up your vision and goals or objectives that you want to achieve with the transportation plan. And then look at existing and future conditions. What is it now and what will happen in future? How many people are in this country now and how many people are going to be there in 10 years? So do we need more roads or less roads or whatever? Then needs assessment. What do people need now? Is it more for goods or is it more for passenger transport? Then develop the strategies that you need to use to solve the problem. Then you have to select and prioritize what projects you want to undertake. From there, you get funding and implement it. Finally, you need to always monitor, evaluate, and give feedback. So some selected topics in transportation planning, like policy and research, decarbonization of transport. So we are looking at a lot of issues like how do we ensure research into transport so our transport system are more efficient, decarbonization of transport. We don't want this fossil fuel transport. In 2035, now the EU even mentioned that by 2035, they don't want to have cars that use combustion engine. So cars that use petrol and diesel, for example, may not be permitted for production in the coming years. So it's a law, it's something by 2055, I'm sure they may not want it at all. So you have to look at how these are the trends in transportation planning and designing for safety, making sure that roads are safe, spatial analysis, transportation modeling, forecasting, financial and economic appraisal, public transport planning, planning for goods movement, and transport development plan. So all these are some of the issues that are coming up that you may want to look at for, even though it may not be part of examiner point for this course, there are areas that are good for future discussion and you could learn them and make you be ahead of others in this discussion. So class discussion is how do we improve our transportation planning in Ghana? These issues you need to understand in a practical term and discuss in your groups. Thank you. End of this session.